Hers will still look great. You can't sit there.
Not too bad. Tonight's, yeah. Hopefully. The budget,
Hello, Minister. How are you?
good. Hello.
How's things?
You have a good break at Christmas?
Not too bad. I never played.
Tickets really.
No. But between Christmas and there wasn't too much going on. So it's all very interesting.
And then you got to celebrate 2 Christmases, 2 New Years, another one the other day.
3. Well,
Of course they got the right.
well, your fox like certain Greeks. And obviously, Luna this week.
Yeah. Oh, that would have gone off.
It's nice. It's also different as well.
We were just got back from Vietnam, me and Reno and the wives. And we left the day before the Lunar New Year because we knew it was going to be mayhem. Everything was going to be shown. And just the getting ready and the excitement. Everyone was just flowers all over the homes, banners, and colour everywhere. It was colour.
Where did you go?
We were central. We were Hoi An and Da Nang. We stayed a couple of days in Da Nang. We saw the fires come out at the Dragon Bridge. Had a few beers watching that. And then we went to Hoi An. But just everywhere, everyone was happy. Everyone was excited. It's such lovely people. And I'm enjoying it. It's fantastic. Well, clothes fit me off the rack. It's fantastic. Extra large, I think.
Rio.
You very
Very white. Very white.
Oh, really? Don't worry. You're a god.
We haven't met for a while.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Almighty Father, from whom all goodness flows, grant unto us qualities of wisdom, justice and tolerance, that we, Charles Sturt acknowledges and pays respects to the traditional custodians of the land and Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We respect their spiritual beliefs and connection to land, which are of continuing importance to the living Kaurna people of today. We acknowledge the contributions and important role that Aboriginal people continue to play within our local community in Charles Sturt. We also respect the culture of Aboriginal people visiting from other areas of South Australia and Australia. Please be seated. So a little bit of housekeeping. If you need the toilets, they're out that way, to my right. We also would ask that you turn your phones off or any other mobile device that might be interruptions to the meeting. I will turn it off if you're on silent. Of course, if the emergency alarms go, we know all about it. Just make your way out those doors and take direction from the staff. Fred Davis is usually, I think it's Charlie Gazeta's out there tonight. So if anyone from the gallery has a question, please be more than welcome to direct it to him. For turning our mind to the meeting tonight, I will be moving through the agenda as printed, so I won't be bringing any items forward. And so we will proceed in that manner now. 1.2, apologies and leave of absence. I received an apology from Councillor Rachel and Councillor Alice. I'm sorry, we haven't had any feedback from her at this stage.
Councillor Nick, excuse me.
Nor Councillor Nick.
Councillor Nick has been an apology.
Yeah, Councillor Nick is an apology too. Okay, beautiful. All right, and just to put someone on the alert, the presiding member and the deputy presiding member are not in the meeting this evening, and yet we have a report from the Corporate Services Committee that needs to be made. I would ask someone who was at that committee to make that report if they would please when the time comes. All right, moving to part 2, confirmation of the minutes of the meeting. Council met on Monday the 22nd of January 2024. Can someone move that the minutes are true, correct record of the meeting? Councillor Edgar.
So moved, Mayor. Thank you.
Seconded. Councillor George.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or debate on that? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to part 2, report of the committees. Part 1, Corporate Services Committee, which met on Monday the 5th of February. Do I have a committee member who would like to make a report on that? It's fairly straightforward. Thanks, Councillor George.
Thank you, Chair. This is a
Councillor George, can I just ask you to move your notes to the side, just so that the mic can pick up your voice, please.
There were a number of items to consider. The first item was the end of quarter report for the period ending December 2023. There were no major issues involved in that matter. The next item was the quarterly budget review, similarly for the period ending December 23. It's just straightforward information reporting, and some questions were asked that there were no issues raised by the committee. The status of the loan borrowing update simply was an update of where we were with the rest of the that the council had borrowed, and that was all consistent with the long-term financial plan and within our budget. The next item was the information technology asset management plan, financial forecast period. Some information was provided to additional information provided to the committee in relation to that matter. There was no major item of consideration. There was an amended item 4.05, which received quite a bit of discussion. Just being right, just not much of an effect on my notes. Essentially, in that item, there was an upgrade of our long-term under 18 plan to incorporate some additional facilities in relation to academic area of art, science, academic, and in fact I was the person who moved the excited amendment and needed more information. I was happy to record and approve the current existing plan for the under 18 sports, which I think is an excellent program we contain, but we including proposal bringing the additional areas of facility, including the area of academic, sports and science, and we wanted more policy clears, clarification, clear policy and information so that we can make a further decision. And that was approved accordingly. And finally, there were some additional minor policy changes, which were minor nature, energy date and updates, and that was approved unanimously. So happy to move that recommendation and seek your second. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and thanks for doing that on the spur of the moment, Councillor Booth. Well done. Councillor Michael. You want to second that?
Yes.
Questions or debate? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Through report 3.01, the mayoral report for December 2023 and January 2024. Happy to take any questions regarding the content or a particular part of the content. Otherwise, I'll take it as read and seek mover and seconder on that. Councillor Pegger.
Yes, Mayor, I move the recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor Sturt.
Yeah, second that.
Thank you. Questions or debate? All those in favour? Any against? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to deputations. Now, before we move on to the first two that are indicated in our agenda this evening, I'm going to seek leave of the meeting to consider a further three that relate to items on the agenda this evening. So those that we have under a policy that we've already accepted relate to Mr. Dimitrios Kiouranis. I hope I've said that correctly. And then, of course, Mr. Michael Atkinson. Our third one, which needs leave of the meeting, is from Joe Sockup MP in relation to the Rival Soccer Club. Another one for Joe Sockup MP, flying of the Ukraine flag. And by way of explanation, I'm giving him two separate deputations, opportunities to deputise on two separate issues, so that he has the maximum amount of time to speak on each of those. And then the fifth one is Adrian Moore on the Rival Soccer Club. So before we proceed with these, can I see a show of hands that leave is granted to hear those 3, 4 and 5 requests? Thank you, leave is granted. Alright, let's move on to the first one. That's indicated in our table, in our of contents in our agenda. This is 4.01, deputation concerning with the intersection of Grange Road and Frogmore Road. Mr. Kiouranis, I do apologise for my pronunciation. Please join me.
No, it's okay.
Absolutely. May I call you Dimitrios? Is that? That's fine. Dimitrios, you have 5 minutes. At 4 minutes, I'll let you know, and that's time just to sort of wrap things up a bit. But if it looks like you need a bit more time, I can seek leave of the chambers to give that to you. And then after that, then I'll also ask the elected members if they've got any questions of you. So if you would begin by stating your name and your address, and then it's over to you. Thank you.
Okay. My name is Dimitrios Kiouranis of IPO of San Cortina Park. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express my concerns about the intersection of Frogmore and Grange Roads. Coming from Frogmore Road to cross Grange Road is almost impossible, especially when the pick up traffic. Many drivers, instead of turning right, they turn left, and then by doing a dangerous U-turn on the next intersection. Even doing this very dangerous, if it's another car is parked on the right line, turning right, you can't see. So a lot of people take the opportunity to go left, and then another car is coming, and a lot of accidents have occurred that way. I understand about 5 years ago, it was a survey conducted, and the findings were there wasn't enough cars passing that intersection. Well, this was 5 years ago. Now, currently the traffic has increased significantly due to the rapid increase of population with the new development. Where there was one house before, now there are 2 or even 3 built in the same block. A few years ago, one household had 1 car. Now they have 2, 3 or more. So the population is growing, the traffic is growing, and it's getting worse trying to cross Grange Road. When the new subdivision of St. James is completed, it's going to be a lot more traffic going through there. And now we've got the college on the Feeder Road. It's going to be more traffic on Grange Road as well. So, what we thought, if you consider to install traffic lights there to stop more accidents, because I've witnessed quite a few recently. 2 of them, one was on one of my neighbours. They tried to go left and a car was coming and hit it. So we don't want to see any more incidents, and definitely we don't want to see anybody get killed there. So please consider the installation of traffic lights. Thank you.
Thank you. Excellent. Any questions of Demetrius? Councillor Melinda, thank you. Not so much a question, but I just want to say thank you for coming in, and I completely agree with you. Councillor? Question? Strictly.
So my question would be then, what other options other than a traffic light, because it is state government roads, or will the council be able to do that? What options do you see?
Well, I can't see any other option. They did a few years ago. Before it was only one line on the Frogmore Road going to Grange Road, going to the right or left. Now they made 2 lines, and I think it's made worse because when the line a car is trying to turn right, especially a SUV or a bigger car, you want to turn left. You can't see what's coming down from Grange Road. So I can't see anything else apart the traffic lights.
Any other questions? Councillor Freeman.
I've got a couple of questions for you, Jim, through the mayor. First of all, I would like to ask, obviously you visited, because we saw that you brought in a petition, you visited a very large number of households in the area. Can I ask, first of all, did any of those people that you spoke to oppose the proposal?
No, they were all for it, and they told me they were disappointed. And the first approach was important. So yes, they were all for it.
So, second question on the petition, apart from their names and signatures, did they give any other details of themselves?
No, just a phone number and the name and the phone number or an email.
The phone number and email.
Yeah, an email, yes, that's all I have.
Thank you, Jim.
Any other questions? Councillor George?
Through the mayor, first, thank you for your presentation. 2 questions. As you mentioned earlier, you're aware that we did undertaking some aid 10 years ago, and the government turned us down at that time for lights intersection. And secondly, you are aware that it's not an intersection controlled by council. We're in the hands of the state government of Transport.
I understand that.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? No. Thank you very much for taking the time to come in this evening. We're going to now move the motion that interpretation be received and noted. We do thank you very much for your efforts, and Mr. Kyrianis, if you have a presentation, I think I see you holding one in your hand.
Okay.
Can we include that in the minutes?
Yes, I know it well.
Excellent. Splendid. Thank you so much. So can I have someone move the motion, please?
I'm happy to move that way, Mayor, and seek a second. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Peter?
And I would like to second that.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate about that? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? It's none against. Carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to our second deputation, flying the Ukraine flag at the Civic Centre. We have a deputation by Mr. Michael Atkinson. Thank you. Mr. Atkinson, you have 5 minutes at 4. I'll ring the bell. If you need some more time, I'll seek leave of the council. Preferably we would be wrapping up by then. And then I'll open it up to the councillors to ask any questions if they so choose. Could you start with your name and address, and then it's over to you. Michael, we can't hear. The mic's not actually on. It's got a face. That's it. Beautiful. Thank you.
My purpose is to persuade elected members to fly the Ukrainian flag as one of the flags flying at the Civic Centre, as it was before the last council election at the instigation of Councillor Sarah McGrath. The reasons Councillor McGrath gave then still prevail. I wrote to candidates during the last council election about their stance on this, and I thought the best answer was from candidate Mara Blazich, who replied, "If it were up to me, I would keep that flag there for as long as it takes for the aggressor to admit defeat, retreat and leave Ukraine. The world stands with Ukraine, and I support the council standing with Ukraine." Now, I accept that council has an obligation to fly the national, state and council flags and seasonally other flags, and this may limit it flying the Ukrainian flag pursuant to Councillor McEwen's motion. Ukraine is a member of the United Nations, and its borders were universally recognised, including by the Russian Federation, from its independence in 1991. A referendum was held in 1991 about independence and was supported by a minimum of 90% of voters in each oblast, including Donetsk, Luhansk and Crimea. The Russian invasion began in 2014 after a Ukrainian government that was to the Russian Federation's liking fell and was replaced in a free and fair election. This war is not comparable with the war between Hamas and Israel, because that is a war of mutual invasions, nor comparable with the war in Sudan, which is a civil war, or the war between the Ethiopian government and those Tigrinya speakers who want an autonomous region. Council's refusal to fly the flags of those combatants could be made persuasively and conclusively. Sturt is home to many Ukrainian Australians and has been since 1949. It's home to the Ukrainian Association in Hindmarsh, the Ukrainian Catholic Church of Saints Volodymyr and Olya on Woodville Road, and the Ukrainian Orthodox Church of St Michael at Croydon. Our city was also home to the Ukrainian soccer club Lion, which older councillors will remember. And I've been pleased to be a friend of the Ukrainian community for more than 30 years, and was careful to keep a Christmas card and Easter card list of Ukrainian Australians in the city. Their number will grow with so many refugees from the war living amongst us. Australian supporters of the invasion will tell you that most Ukrainians speak Russian, and this is true, but it is no more logical to say that Australia should be a county of England or the 51st state of the United States of America because we speak English. I'm the only South Australian minister to have visited Ukraine. I represented the South Australian government at meetings in Kiev, Odessa and Lviv. Most people in the large cities speak Russian, not all large cities. Lviv is an obvious exception. And Ukrainian is the language of the villages and countryside. That was our experience in Odessa, a Russian-speaking city, but once we were past the suburbs, the signs were in Ukrainian, and the people spoke Ukrainian in the little towns such as Kommentonivsky, where we laid flowers in remembrance of the more than 4 million Ukrainians who were starved to death in the forced collectivisation of farms under Joseph Stalin between 1929 and 1947. Indeed, with 1 million more Ukrainians dying of it in southern Ukraine, in the regions of Dnipropetrovsk and Zaporizhia after the war. In eastern Ukraine and the parts of Russia over the border, people speak a lingua franca, Syrzhyk, a mixture of Ukrainian and Russian. Language does not determine who is Ukrainian or who wishes to be a citizen of Ukraine. About the time Australia was colonised, Western Ukraine was part of the Grand Duchy of Lithuania and then became part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Russian occupation of all of Ukraine, particularly Western Ukraine, would be a nightmare for both occupier and occupied. Russian television openly boasts that after Ukraine, Poland, Estonia, Latvia and Lithuania will be next. In November, I attended the anniversary of the Holodomor at St Michael's Church on Port Road. There were no elected representatives, federal, state or local, as there had been a year earlier. Frank Fosenko, the president of the association, told me that they'd not sent out invitations, but I thought that's not a complete answer.
Excuse me, Mr Atkinson, you've reached 5 minutes. How much more time would you like?
Oh, just 2 sentences.
Can I just seek leave that we give Mr Atkinson up to another minute, please? Can I see a show of hands that leave is granted? Thank you. Thank you, Mr Atkinson.
Elected representatives shouldn't need an invitation before they show solidarity with local groups. They ought to be there, not just when there's an election on. The flying of the Ukrainian flag should not have stopped at Charles Sturt back in November 2022, when stories about the invasion of Ukraine were less prominent in the news. Mara Blazic was right. The city of Charles Sturt ought to stand with Ukraine and the Ukrainian Australians of our city for as long as it takes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions from the floor? Elected members? Is there a motion on notice coming up? Nothing at all? Mr Atkinson, thank you very much for taking the time to bring your thoughts to us this evening. Can I ask someone to move the recommendation that the deputation be received and noted? I'm assuming, Mr Atkinson, your notes can be included in the minutes of the meeting.
Sure.
If you'd like to send them through by email, that would be great. Can I have someone move that way, Councillor Tom?
Yes, I'll move the motion.
Seconded, please. Councillor Sedfield.
Happy to second that. Thank you.
Excellent. Any other questions on that? The motion to vote, all those in favour? Any against? None against, that's carried unanimously. Thank you. Alright, moving on to the first of our deputations that have not are not shown in the agenda this evening. I'm going to call on Joe Suckatch MP. He's going to speak first of all regarding the Vipers Soccer Club infrastructure and club vision update. Elected members should be aware that this is item 6.07 in our business items this evening. Thank you. Hi, Mr Suckatch.
Mayor, thank you, and thank you to yourself and councillors for consideration of this item this evening. Thank you for having me on motion as well. I note that the agenda item is listed as Vipers, however, I'd like to speak more broadly about the support from myself as a local MP and the state government for St Clair community infrastructure, which I think is the more appropriate way to note this. By way of background, I was very pleased as the then candidate and now member of the state government to execute a series of commitments at the last state election, and subsequent to that to oversee as a member of the cabinet the execution of funding arrangements with the council in respect to $180,000 for to support the council's rollout of path and security lighting at St Clair, $350,000 for sports lighting across St Clair Oval number 2, and $1 million for the construction of a St Clair community hub. The genesis of this was quite clear through being the incumbent local MP as well as through door knocking extensively in St Clair. It was quite clear that the vibrant, growing and frankly outstanding community in St Clair were keen, if not desperate, to utilise the space in a more fulsome way, and that's where the lighting proposition became very clear, not only the path lighting but also through enabling users of the ovals of St Clair to utilise them across greater hours of the day throughout the year. It's also very clear that both from a community perspective as well as from a sporting users perspective that there was an absence of community hub space. Very proud as a local resident having seen the support of council as well as successive state governments to the construction of servery facilities, change room facilities, public toilet facilities in that central space in St Clair. But it was very clear that there was an absence of usable community space, whether it be for cricket, for soccer, for community, non-association sport, or whether it be for members of the St Clair community who were looking for a space to congregate or to utilise that was outside of necessarily a licensed premises, which is another ongoing and probably long yet to be resolved matter in that St Clair area. I thank members for the consideration of these important matters, primarily because St Clair is a community which has grown, which has prospered, which has thrived, and it's also a hub for the use of usable open space for many residents in our area. There are suburbs that surround St Clair, such as the Woodvilles, Hendon, Albert Park, and some outside of the council areas in areas like Rosewater that are amongst the hottest, Beverley as well, they're amongst the hottest suburbs in the metropolitan Adelaide, and also have, through various planning decisions and also historic reasons, a lack of open space. There are a suite of decisions or considerations that you will make this evening. I urge you all, with respect to support action which will see the prompt progress of these projects. It is disappointing that having executed these funding arrangements in June 2023, that there are, 2022, that there's yet to be progress on two major projects. I understand that there has been excellent progress on the council's key project of lighting across the paths. However, it's certainly my hope as the local MP and on behalf of other residents in the broader area to see prompt progress on this built infrastructure as well. I also note within the recommendations that there is a proposition to consider community consultation or otherwise on a proposition for temporary fencing. I would respectfully urge that matter to be either considered or not to be considered. What I would be very eager to see as a local MP is for decisions to be made tonight to progress built infrastructure, that no decision tonight would impede built infrastructure, and of course should there be a decision to consult with the community or otherwise on other matters, that they be reserved or considered separately.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing your views on that. Any questions from the floor regarding that? Ministers put before us tonight. Councillor Quinn.
Through the Chair, Chair Sokach, thank you for your deputation tonight. May I please ask, based on your experience with the Office of Sports and Recreation, how flexible and feasible are they with regards to providing a grant of this calibre towards any council?
It's a good question, and not in a position where I can speak for Office for Recreation and Sport. However, I think more broadly around the development of these proposals, they are undertaken from time to time, and I think there are a suite of, I can speak with my own personal experience, a suite of matters which were taken to the 2022 election that I took, that were consulted with, and that were developed with consultation with the community, and each of those have a corresponding government agency that execute that. Of course, in this case, it is the Office for Recreation and Sport. There are other projects of which are being administered through the Department for Infrastructure and Transport, or others where there are smaller funding portions. For example, Findon Skid Kits, where there was a direct funding between the the Office for Rec and Sport and that association as opposed to being auspiced through council. But there are, at the moment, not a great suite of other competitive grant funding processes of which these types of matters would be considered. The government more broadly is continuing to support women's participation in sport, and I would say with great support that these projects are consistent with our government's support for greater facilities to encourage the participation of girls and women in grassroots sport.
Councillor George.
Through the chair, thank you for your deputation. Just an observation, a question. Given that this grant funding was approved in June 22 or thereabout, and given that since then we've actually incurred an enormous amount of cost of living increases, particularly in the building construction and associated costs, would there be any flexibility within the Department of Recreation, Sports and Racing or to our government that they could possibly look at reviewing and maybe increasing the level of funding to achieve this project? Because otherwise, if we go...
That's a question.
It's a question, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Again, I'm not in any position to speak on behalf of government departments. I'm here as a local member tonight. Of course, the government has a process by which these have been entered into formally with council. Look, I know of interest perhaps regarding one of the projects, or two of the projects, of which one has been completed, the other is still outstanding. The $180,000 I was very pleased to be able to commit for the Pathline was a figure that was well informed through the advocacy on behalf of your council with all candidates at the time, and that $180,000 was a figure that was easily apportioned to a portion of the walking trail lining, which I as a local member thought had the greatest need, as was the $350,000 for sport lining that I know was publicly dedicated in about January, February of 2022. I had received a quote from a major South Australian-based lining contractor that was $350,000, and I note that the tender was entered into or was begun some 13 or 14 months later, so I'll note that some of those cost escalations have been simply down to administration of the matter through various agencies, councils or otherwise. But I can't in any way purport to speak on behalf of funding pools on behalf of other government agencies.
Councillor Katrina.
Thank you for your deputation this evening. My question is just about the proposal to install permanent and temporary fencing to enclose certain aspects, so car park trainer and whatever, so that they can play at a certain level. I just thought I wanted to hear from you from your local perspective what you hear, particularly residents or other clubs. What's the feedback from other users on that particular proposal?
Yeah, thank you for your question, and I can speak on a couple of fronts on that one. The first of which is I think that community consultation on matters like this is really important, and my consultation that I engage with, of course, will be different to the proven community consultation that council may choose to undertake. I know that I'm very fortunate in my local area that I have other major sporting infrastructure, one at Woodville West and one just out of my electorate in Royal Park, both of which undertake or have permanent or semi-permanent fencing installed, both of which I understand through speaking with relevant local members and residents are well received. But I think in this case the consultation is really important. Having been a member for 5 years now, it's very clear that it wasn't all that long ago that the use of St Clair was very different than it is today. It's in all of our lifetimes preceding past where St Clair was a pretty dusty, boarded up, fenced up, disused racing course. It's now an extraordinarily vibrant, well-used, modern community, which I think has been well planned. my position and my personal support would be that I think it's a worthy endeavour to consider temporary fencing there to support sporting clubs to encourage youth pathways, to continue to encourage multicultural, underprivileged children from our area. That's really critical, and keeping children, keeping families engaged in whether it's sport or other matters is really critical to our area.
Any other questions or debate? Any questions actually? There are none. So we have a motion. I formally thank you, Mr. Sockarch, for your presentation this evening, taking the time to come out and share your views with us. If you have any notes, we'd be really happy to include them in the agenda. And can I have someone move that way, please? Councillor Michael.
Move that way, Mayor.
Seconded, please, Councillor Quinn.
Happy to second that now.
Thank you. Any questions or debate on that? Put the motion to vote. All those in favour? It's carried unanimously. Thank you. Now, for our fourth deputation this evening, also from Mr. Sockarch, and this is regarding the matter of flying the Ukraine flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank Councillor McEwen for bringing this motion forward and note the contribution and deputation from Mr. Atkinson. This is a really important matter of solidarity for our community. Having been born, raised and grown up in the West, and as so many of you here have as well, you would know what the spectre of Soviet or Russian totalitarianism has had on our community. We are a diverse community, we are a community of migrants, and solidarity with those migrants doesn't stop or start and stop at national borders. Nor does the solidarity that can be expressed by various levels of government start and stop on key milestones. The Ukrainian community is strong, they are resilient, but they are doing it tough. And since the 24th of February in 2022, their nation, their homeland, has suffered the most extraordinary aggression from their neighbour in Russia. And I've had the privilege as an elected member of Parliament to speak about my own family's history on a few occasions, and I'll just note this evening that my family's history is Hungarian. My dad was born in Hungary and he arrived in Australia as a refugee. He was 18, couldn't speak a word of English. And the struggle that he and others who fled Europe post World War II and in the subsequent years is different, but also very common. But what it is particularly common of is the experience of so many of your constituents and your residents. And the flying of the Ukrainian flag at this chamber is not just a demonstration of solidarity with the Ukrainian people and the Ukrainian community, but it's a demonstration of the Council's willingness to confront aggression and to make statements in support of democracy, to make statements in support of nations and people who are doing their best in the face of this aggression, but also, more importantly, is a demonstration of solidarity with the tens of thousands of people that live in this wonderful council area who do share a similar experience to the Ukrainian people. And the lightning rod of what has been the last 2 years in Ukraine has been one that has brought up some very difficult memories and very difficult and traumatic lived experience of people who have emigrated from Europe and other nations around the world. And I would encourage you all, as you have previously, to demonstrate the Council's support of multiculturalism, support of democracy, and acknowledgement that democracy is particularly fluid and a matter that is never to be taken for granted.
All right, any questions on this topic from the floor? Otherwise, again, formally, thank you very much for your presentation this evening. If you do have any notes, we're happy to include them in the minutes of the meeting. Can I have someone
Happy to move that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And seconder, please, Councillor Wrighty.
Happy to second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions or debate on that? Put the motion to vote. All those in favour? Any against? None against. That's carried unanimously. All right, moving on to our final deputation this evening. It's from Adrian Moore, and he's going to be presenting on the Vipers Soccer Club Infrastructure and Club Vision update. Mr. Moore, how are you? Good to see you again. You know the deal. 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I'll rattle the bell at 4.
Do I go through it? I think there was some-
Yeah, good idea. No worries, and there'll be some questions possibly from the floor afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillors. Good presentation on the evening. My name's Adrian Moore. I'm a 30-year resident of Woodville Park, emigrated from the UK. Try not to hold that against it too much, but we've I've had the pleasure of being the president of Vipers Football Club for the last 10 years. Within the agenda item, we've included a fairly extensive slide pack there that sort of goes through a fair amount of background and sort of the environment that we're in with the football soccer community in the western suburbs and more broadly through Adelaide. Bit of a background, so what I'll go through in the next 3, 4, 5 minutes is just to give you an awareness of where the club's at and what we really stand for. And then obviously we do and we would appreciate the support of the council in taking us to that next sort of chapter in our club's history. The club was formed 17 years ago through ex-scholars at Woodville High School, and I think you find in the western suburbs here, people don't move very far. So most of our committee, a lot of our members are ex-Woodville High School as well, and we've sort of branched out from there, and year on year we're increasing our numbers on that. We started as a small amateur team with 3 teams. We introduced juniors 12 years ago. The reason for the juniors was really recognising the opportunity that the new St Clair Ovals gave us. We started on the old St Clair, which was our American side. Obviously when we had the land swap and we saw what was happening there, it was incumbent on us as a club to say, well, we need to have juniors as part of this and try and encourage that from there. So I'll just hopefully this works. So I'll just put this slide up. This is really our growth in juniors. We've had growth in seniors as well, but we won't sort of focus on there. But when we started in 2011 with juniors, we had 20 kids coming through. This year, our numbers are hitting 320 and 245 to 320 this year. And we've got a waiting list of people wanting to come. We've got 4 complementary coaches. I think we've got 35 coaches supporting 26 teams at the moment. So the club has gone really, really strongly in the last couple of years. One of the main reasons for that, it recognises that we did increase facilities just around COVID. We had this isn't, and I think Joe mentioned it, this isn't just about vitals. What we do as part of our success is we partner with similar organisations. So,
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention to the time. How much more time do you need?
probably 1 minute.
Okay, can I simply leave the meeting that Mr. Horn would give him 1 more minute? Thank you, Leader Scotland.
So the partnerships we have, Woodville High School have just introduced their soccer into their curriculum. Adelaide United have set up their youth development in partnership with us. Woodville High School, I understand this week, are going to announce a partnership with Adelaide United themselves. So that sort of oval over there is becoming quite a valued area for actual development of the youth in there. We also partner with One Culture, which is around disability and multicultural from there. We are, through this medium, creating a multicultural and vibrant environment. And just to finish, just an idea, we spend an awful lot of time in Sinclair Ovals as volunteers. The club, it's a credit to my volunteers, my committee, where the club has got to over the last pretty much 10 to 12 years as we've grown. And really, we're sort of requesting the council to know that we can sort of vote in our favour towards that second set of recommendations. All our members would really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions from the floor? All right. Thank you very much for taking time to come in and share with us this evening. Oh, beg your pardon. Okay, Councillor Katrina.
Thank you for your deputation this evening. I just had a question in regards to the suite of, proposals that you have and the vision for the club.
Yeah.
What's your engagement been like with people that live in St Clair currently?
So we have quite a number of our players are residents of St Clair. We participated in the St Clair Carols, so we're quite active in the community groups there. Generally, people are supportive of this. I think with the lights going around, pretty much St Clair, when the lights are on, it's a safe environment. When the lights are off, it's a very dark place in the community. A lot goes on after hours. So generally, our feedback, a lot of people coming from private counselling, is that supportive of facilities being upgraded to where they need to be. We're actually really proud of the sports grounds, which they are. They're actually proud of the sports grounds, and they really want to see the level of facilities there that they can be even more proud of.
And given your ambitions to expand and play in different leagues, do you have any concerns about, for example, the current traffic capacity? Because that is something that we do hear about at St Clair.
We're actually already in the higher leagues. Unfortunately, we have to play because St Clair hasn't got the facilities. Currently, we have to play our games.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
And all of that. So at the moment, it's costing us $20,000 a year to play outside of St Clair.
Yeah.
I think the traffic, for us, the traffic's fine. The traffic problems there is sort of Saturday mornings when the football's on. That's the real volume that comes through for us. Most of our games are 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the senior game, and it's pretty much only us there. And we've had no real problem with traffic for ourselves. But obviously, when all the studios are there is a bit of a bottleneck.
Do you have any concerns when the projections of the club with traffic then? Or?
No. I mean, we've got quite a lot of parking around there down Process Avenue. Obviously, the recreation centre, there's parking, there's car park, change rooms, so there is actually
Chair, and thank you for your presentation. Just clarification, you're seeing all your teams play at St Clair, or do you see any teams play elsewhere?
Amateur teams play at St Clair, as a permitted to. Senior team, first team, we were in what we call Football Federation Australia, the State League. The facilities at St Clair don't support that. There needs to be a fence around the area, and there needs to just be a bit more sort of infrastructure there. So we would love, at the moment we're playing at the parks, and that, as I said, that costs us revenue to play there. We previously had to play at Bacala, which is down on Anzac Highway. So, and what we find, unfortunately, we do have juniors are really connected with our seniors when we're at St Clair, but when we're away from St Clair, we struggle to get juniors coming through because the ground we use, that club charges $15 entrance fee for that, so we don't really get the flow through of our members going to our home games there. Whereas St Clair, when we were in the lower division, they were pretty vibrant around there.
Thank you.
Councillor Cole.
Thank you for the presentation. With respect to what is said to be achieved effectively here, which is essentially the centralisation of the hub in one space, in the forecast that you've estimated in terms of the growth of the women, is that likely to generate any sort of promotional collaboration with local businesses in terms of your ability to get sponsorship, do some further collaboration? What kind of effect is that likely to have if the project is to go ahead as it is?
Massive. Every dollar we can get from the sponsors, revenues, seconds invested back into the club takes the pressure off the junior pricing, which is what we want to do. We're actually junior pricing. We're actually one of the cheapest clubs in all Adelaide. And regionally, we're between $150 and $300 cheaper than clubs surrounding us. There's always that pressure on our pricing, which means that if we get support, what our facility needs is to bring sponsors in, entertain those sponsors, more wins, which gets their buildings put a banner in the club room for them, so we will get extra income through it. Equally, the canteen sales, which are quite good now, will increase through that, which again gives us the opportunity to further the developments.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Kinsey.
Thank you. Thank you, Adrian, for your presentation. I just have a couple of questions on the back of a couple of questions that were raised over on the other side of the room. Firstly, you were saying if the area is fenced off, it's not going to be, you won't have to pay to get in, so obviously it'll be available for the public to have access to. Does that include dog walkers?
Yeah.
So there'll be no problem with people walking the dogs outside of...
dog walkers are there now.
Yeah.
We've got fully intention that the gates are open, they'll only be closed for 11 or so times that we play home games there in the year. But yeah, I mean, dogs are there at the moment. We do have a few problems with things we have to pick up on Saturday, Sunday mornings, but we're not looking to close it off to the public at all, other than when we've got the match, the senior game on 11 times per year.
Right, thank you. And my second question is in relation to the other groups that use the oval. Notice the cricket nets will need to be moved. So the cricket club's okay with moving that?
Yes, I've spoken to Tim. That is over on the cricket ovals. So the ways that there are sort of morphed into is the oval 2 is probably rectangular oval, whereas oval 3 and 4 are the two wickets. So it actually seems to have it a little bit over on oval 3, as opposed to the games at the top. It's also a bit safer there as well, because where it is at the moment, we've got a lot of kids running around to solid balls in the sort of path of cricket balls as well. So I think they realise that going over to oval 3, it's a bit safer.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Just to clarify from my side, Mr. Moore, there was a question raised earlier around the capacity just in the calendar to accommodate an increase of games. And you've made the comment that the grounds would only be closed when there are matches being made. So help me understand, if you wouldn't mind, how there could be access for the community, the other community, when there's an increased number of games in an inflexible calendar year, and that's going to create more matches anyway. Help me understand that.
Yeah, so it's not really an increase in senior games. What's happened is at the moment, the federation, as we call them, the main competition, if you're in State League 2, which we were 2 years ago, we can play the games at State League. Now we've kind of got ourselves promoted to State League 1, and hopefully to National Premier League in the next few years. You need to have defence in there. So it's only the senior team
understanding, on the basis of what you said, does it still mean that you'll be playing some federation level games at the parks, or those practice games, or anything of that nature?
No, we get into the level that we can, and all the games will be back at St. Clair.
Okay.
And even this weekend, we did us the Australia Cup game, which is the knockout competition that allowed us to play at St. Clair this weekend, which is pretty exciting for the locals.
Excellent. Any other questions from the floor, Councillor Quinn?
Thank you, Adrian, for your deputation today. We all know the impact and reach that women's soccer has with uniting our nation, let alone a community. With regards to your deputation today and the Vipers vision, can you please quantify with regards to the increase of female participation at the moment? Where does it stand and what the plans are to actually activate female participation for the club?
So the females, said this year we've got just over 30, two teams just over 30. Last year we had one team under 17, so that was 14, 15 girls. The year before we had none. So that's, we basically got to two teams in that short amount of time. With girls sport, its facilities are very, very important to the girls sport. We've got change rooms,
on to that question until we actually come to the motion or the recommendation, and then I ask you to ask that of the staff, because I think you might get some information that will help you in that regard. Okay, Councillor Peter.
Yeah, just thank you for your presentation, first of all. Just like you to help me understand fully, if we install the permanent fence around the facility, you said you won't be earning any additional money from ticket sales.
Not from ticket sales.
Not from ticket sales. However, with the fence, you will be able to accommodate more games, and in that order, you will be able to receive additional funds to the tune of $20,000, I think you said.
Well, yes, that's our estimate. Well, that's not my estimate.
Is that per year, per week, or
per year?
Per year. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? There was a line up before. Councillor Senthil, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Senthil.
Yeah, thanks Adrian for your presentation. You did touch about the cultural club and the change in the behavioral things. Would you like to expand a little bit more about what impacts the club had in terms of winning championships, and also how the kids' orientation towards the game had changed?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we won a championship 2 years ago, and it was played at the State Centre. We had a huge support from the kids. We had a big, our head coach is Egyptian by trade, so we had a lot of Egyptian people coming as well. And we've also been very successful with our development program over the recent years. So this year we had two of our boys out of the 16 squad. You bear in mind there's 36 clubs, clubs at our level in the States. We had 2 of the 16 attend the national championships representing South Australia in Sydney. The same 2 went to the schoolboys and basically got picked on the shadow squad for the Australian team. So they're at 16 years old at the moment. We've got 14-year-olds. Every year we have 3 to 4 players, leading us to be picked up by the state talent identification for the state system. So the development program over recent years, and this is coupled with the positive media psychology program that we do as well, and that's really just had a whole uplift of the feeling across the club. It's a happy club. We always get a few problems with some parents now and again, which you do in any club, but generally speaking, the kids are happy. They're involved with the club, they come up to the canteen and have a chat with the store, we put our aprons on. They come from every culture, the South American, North American, Europe, Asia, Australia. So, we can plot that on the map and show, I think it's only Antarctica, in the North Pole where we have a lot of people as part of our club. So, it's really is a good environment to be in. Thank you.
Any other questions from the floor? That's it. Thank you so much, Mr. Moore, for making the time to come and speak to us and answer the plethora of questions. Done very well. I would like someone to move.
Happy to move that motion.
Thank you. Also, if you have any notes, we'd be happy to include them. I think though your presentation is they're already in there anyway. Okay. Well, we've got it in there for change of mind. All right. Can I have a seconder, please, on that, Councillor Michael?
Yes, happy to second.
Beautiful. All right. Any questions or debate? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? None against. It's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Thanks for your time this evening. Can get the time up there. Okay. Moving on to part. We've finished with our deputations for this evening, which is terrific. Moving on to part 5, petitions 5.02. A request for traffic lights at Frogmore Road and Grange Road intersection. It's a petition that was organised by
process. It's got a lot of community consultation, a lot of negotiation, and I think we've reached a really good result. So I'm very happy to present this.
Excellent. Any other questions or debate on this? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Are there any against? None against. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Moving on to 6.06, the Tappies Road, Royal Park, Hindon Local Activity Centre renewal. Again, we're looking for an endorsement that will advance public realm improvements in that area. And of course, if you've read the report, you would know that there are a huge number of strengths and opportunities that this project proposes. Councillor Kelly.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm happy to move that as printed. It will bring a lot of opportunities to that area.
Yeah. Councillor George.
I'm going to second that.
Thank you. Any other questions or debate on that? I put a motion to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? None against. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. All right. Now, we want to move to item 6.07, the Vital Cycle Club Infrastructure and Club Provision Update. That members, there are a number of options that are available to us this evening.
I've got a general conflict of interest on this layer. My son is a member of a licensed junior club. Any financial support to enhance Vipers club facility infrastructure could potentially be seen as indirectly benefiting my son. To address this potential conflict, I intend to abstain from participating in the discussion and will leave the meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, let's move on with this. We've had a couple of deputations here this evening, and I think there's been some clarity given around the options, of which there are a number here for us to consider. Probably reflected in the latter part of the recommendation that's there. I think there's probably a dispute over, there might be some discussion that's warranted regarding part 5 and even above the last or below the bottom of the last or there. But Councillor Quinn, you've asked to take the lead on this one.
Thank you, Mayor. On the back of today's deputation by President Andrew of the Vipers Football Club, also knowing that with regards to the vision of the organisation to increase participation of girls and women, also inclusion for walking football and power chair football, seeing the growth of the organisation
Can you just indicate what your motion is?
So my motion will be for the alternative. My motion will be for the alternative, which is that the report be received and noted. The council proceed with all elements of the state government funded works, including the Oval Sports Lighting Community Club Room Facility, and fund the shortfall of $743,235 through the 24-25 budget year deliberations. Item number 3 as it is, item number 4 as it is, item number 5B, I'd like us to remove that council consultation is undertaken in the club's proposed fencing. I think that based on the decision
is
of
that
council...
the last of the motion, or you want to include something else?
There is the part 4, so that council for 5, I'd like to accept 5B. The council does not support any permanent or temporary fencing infrastructure on St. Clair Oval number 2, in line with the previous decision of our council in 2015, and item 6 as it is. So I motion that and I seek a seconder.
Any debate on that before you seek your seconder? Any explanation? I'm getting off into one to start with.
In relation to my experience with regards to government funding towards activation of our city, the City of Charles Sturt, particularly Woodville Board, has 4 of the lowest economic, social demographic within our City of Charles Sturt. With a proposal of a $1.53 million investment by the state government, I see council's investment of about 50 cents per dollar of the government's of our council's investment into this infrastructure as a necessity to move forward. I think it also outlays our investment in terms of improving and activating the infrastructure of Vipers Football Club for our city of Sturt. In relation to the vision of Vipers Football Club, I concur with their investment to improve the participation of girls and female sport, and also in relation to encouragement for the use of walking football and power chair football, but also based on the fact that community consultation has not been done with regards to the fencing, so I'm relying on the evidence as to why council made the decision from council in 2015. Therefore, I don't support the permanent or temporary fencing infrastructure, but I do support all other items of this motion and seek a second.
Okay, we have a seconder for that. Councillor, someone's got a... Councillor Quinn, could you turn your light off, please? So, Councillor Nicholas.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I rise to support the motion. I'm not going to repeat everything that Councillor Quinn said, but it makes sense to me that the government gives you money, you don't give the money back. You utilize it, you spend the difference, to make your project come to fruition. It is, from the emails I received all day, in support of this, I think there is quite a need for it, so I'm willing to support it. Thank you.
Right, Councillor George. I beg your pardon, sorry. Councillor Alice.
That's okay. I would like to just speak. I'm largely supportive of everything, but I'd actually like to speak in favour of actually getting some consultation with regards to the fencing, because I think there's a compelling case in the report with the fact that it has been almost 10 years since we made that decision with regards to the fencing. I'm not necessarily sure whether I am in
most definitely it is an option. We've had an example, Pennington Reserve, where we had a club going through a similar journey. Adelaide Victory, they were known as Adelaide Titans before, and the infrastructure up on a Friday night, they took it down on a Sunday morning, and they ended up putting through a lot of volunteers. It was just very intensive work with volunteers.
It's doable. Yeah, I think it's doable because once we don't know what we mean. Yeah, sorry, that's fine. We don't need to debate it now, but let's just have a discussion around. I'm just concerned about the community consultation aspect of it, and I would like to have some confidence from the floor that we've considered this adequately this evening before proceeding in any direction. I think we've got. You'll all get a chance. Don't worry, Councillor Kitchen.
My question possibly is to staff and their knowledge on this issue, which is I am wondering, since we're talking about community consultation, what consultation to date has been in regards to the establishment of the community hub, and that obviously the funds were accepted associated with that pledge, but I'm just not clear. We're talking a lot about the consultation on the fence. Usually those conversations are in relation to consultation about the community hub, and the fence hangs on the side of the hub. So can you just clarify, is there some more background to this that I'm not quite getting?
In short, no consultation with the community hub at this point in time. Consultation will be a statutory requirement for development approval, which we would include the relocation and reconstruction of cricket nets, if council was to move that way, and also for the construction of the building itself.
Okay, thank you. So I guess, expressing some confusion, concern that perhaps consultation not only needs to consider fencing but also the community hub itself, especially given the shortfall, because that was going to be one of my questions as part of to staff as well, was just a bit more clarification around that point too, which is if the club, the community or clubbing facilities in committed to going ahead, I sort of read that as those debates may happen as part of the budget, but it seems to me that that's perhaps community consultation that needs to come first. It's a bit chicken right here. So otherwise it will be enveloped into the budget process, which again, is that something that we want to see, or are we saying we want to pull it out so that it happens as a separate process? The way that number 2 is written, that left me a little bit uncertain as to what that would mean for community consultation in regards to the community club.
So can we get some comment on how the customer addresses this?
The Mayor's asked me to give a little bit of background as to how we would customarily manage these things. This one is, to be blunt, a little bit unique in that it's essentially a grant that was offered by the state government for this facility. It's significant in its shortfall to be able to deliver what was promised. So what we're doing here is essentially mopping up that difference. The club has sought to expand that into additional things, in particular the fencing that they've been speaking of for quite a number of years. Ordinarily we would do as has been done with option 3, and that is to become part of the budget process. But given the extended period that's already gone before and the state government commitment to some contributory funding, staff have recommended that we make the commitment now so there is clarity to proceed. Obviously, pushing it back into the budget process, we would need to give an extension on the state government funding. So that raises one issue there, and secondly, it would mean that the funds wouldn't be confirmed at best until the end of June when the budget is endorsed. So it just creates further delays, and as we've seen with this project in particular, it's one that's suffered from being underfunded from the start, and then it's had cost escalation through delays as well.
Just before, just on that point, I wanted to ask, were council to decide to move in support of the motion that Councillor Quinn has put up there what implications does that have in terms of a rescission motion and coming back to the fencing proposition sometime later down the track so that we can get on with the build? There's no delays there, but then come back to that fencing proposition later on. How is that going to work out?
As an observer, I recognise that the club might not be entirely happy with this, but we could proceed with the essentially remove number 5 altogether and deal with that as a separate proposition. And so while there is a 2015 decision on the books, we haven't reaffirmed that immediately now. We could then go through a consultation process or do something that's separate, and that could come back through the budget process potentially as a community-driven budget bid through the consultation process or something like that. So we would give clarity to proceed in terms of the clubbing facility and those other aspects, but essentially separate out the fencing as another alternative.
So then no community consultation on the community hub, apart from in the budget process.
I think I understand it's through the planning process, the development approval process that will happen. Yeah. So I think Councillor Quinn.
Sorry, I just had one more question to the staff, if I may, just in terms of have there been any studies or any comments about the increased use that this proposal would have on traffic impacts?
No, not at this stage.
Yeah, that would come through when the approval, planning approval was sought to have to come out there, I'm told. So, Councillor Peter, what are your thoughts in terms of progressing this item, recognising the desire of the club to get this moving and our commitment to it, and the whole fencing issue?
Yes, I take all everything that I have into consideration. I mean, we are here to listen to the people, to listen what they need, what they want from us. We have a couple of deputations tonight, and I think the fencing is something that they do need in order to have
But if we, are you happy to progress that at a later point?
I'm happy
or,
to, yes.
We can progress at a later point and we can have the staff craft something that reflects that, but get on with the whole project.
I'm happy to proceed.
I'm
happy to proceed with the project, Mayor. But leave the door open, for consultation with the public in order to do the fencing as well at a later stage. I mean, we hear from the government that they may also consider.
We don't have to debate it. I just want to get an idea of where you're sitting, and of course, then gives us time to actually absorb what the consultation mechanism needs to be or could be in that situation as well. Councillor Edgar.
Yes, I only got a question, Mayor. And in regards to when I read the report, it said in 2015 the elected members voted against the fence. Was there consultation at the stage, or what was the story behind that?
I'm going to ask the staff to comment on that. There was consultation.
The recommendation for both Fulham United Soccer and Fibres Football Club to transition from the amateurs to the federation. That resolution that council staff put forward was to undertake consultation on both concepts. However, on the night, that was changed to not support that all. So the consultation was not undertaken.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's some interesting information too. This next, Councillor Kelly.
Thank you. I've just got a couple of questions. Where's Fulham United playing their games?
We're speech rolling.
Thank you.
threads about access and all need to be teased out and the special conditions of those licences.
Thanks, Councillor.
And just picking up on something that Councillor Katrina said in regards to the consultation, in regards to the hub. Obviously, if it goes to consultation as a planning consultation, it would generally just go out to a certain perimeter. Is there any chance we can do a separate consultation, as in a proper
Absolutely.
consultation,
And
rather than just the planning consultation?
yes, and that's why I think,
On the hub though as well, not just the fence.
of course, if that's the will of the council. Yeah.
Okay. And just in regards to, I remember the debate in 2015, why we didn't go out to consultation, because there had been a lot of discussion about it previously with the land swap.
Okay, Councillor George, all right, next.
Yes, Chair, just a question to Sam. Sam, if in fact we went to consultation, this was successful, what implications would it have for Fulham Garden, Fulham Foot Soccer Club, because the Collins and Zills have the same situation where they're senior players play a West pitch, as in fact the Vipers players play away from that. If we allow one club to come in and then have that, and then that may have to shift juniors, other players out, because you've got them time. What impact would that have for Fulham United, the Collins Reserve? Because the decision we made in 2015 was to keep over. I remember at the time we did not like fences, and that's why I supported it.
Well, we're not talking about
No,
what has been said at the moment. But if you've got a comment on that relates to this particular item.
One can only assume that Fulham United would be watching this decision quite closely, and if council was to resolve to undertake consultation with fencing at this location, I would only assume or presume that we would receive a similar request from
You're asking
Fulham.
us to speculate, and I don't think that's fair. So we'll leave that one for tonight. Who's next? Councillor Nicole.
I'd like to concur with Alice and go that we should move on the first 4 points in section 2. That number 5 point should be taken out, and we should have the consultation done separately. In the Woodville West Ward, can say as well, we've got a soccer club there. It's fenced off, and through some negotiations, because I think things have done pretty well through council, community and the football club are using that land really well together with the fencing, dogs, and the rest. So it could turn out to be really positive for the community. So I'd like to see that gets taken out of the motion and voted on separate.
Okay, that's good information. Councillor Kinsey, where are you sitting on this one? Oh, Councillor Michael, sorry.
Sorry, I'll be quick. I just want to confirm my position on that is that, and I thought at the start that perhaps taking out that 0.5 and dealing with it at a later date seems to make sense, as well as us considering the consultation framework. I think the Mayor pointed to it earlier, which is some of the issues with just a generic consultation process might result in certain groups being dragged out. So I would be suggesting it would be beneficial for us to workshop how the consultation with the hub and with the fence from the council's point of view outside of the legislative framework that triggers once it goes through the planning would be useful for us. I do have one quick question, and it might sound silly, but through to the staff. With the licensing and the potential issues that arise with how the use of the oval is likely to occur, do we, as the council, administer those licences, or is that a separate body that does that?
Yeah, we as council administer those licences.
Yeah, great, thank you.
Councillor Katrina.
Thank you. Just a further question building on the licences. So in this occasion, would it be appropriate to, usually we would consult on the licences, is that correct? So would it be consulting on, or would it be a possible option to consult on the licence and the proposed community hub at the same time? And perhaps that involves the fence, because like Councillor Michael, I would be quite concerned to just leave that process to the development process.
With regards to the licence and consultation, if the local government, if we have a community land management plan, which enables the running of the licence for a period up to 5 years without consultation, anything greater
and so we don't have to wait for the 24-25 budget deliberations, or not? Chicken or egg?
If you're talking about staffing capacity for consultation right now, I would probably say no.
No, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kinsey.
Yeah, I've got a question for staff. I think Sam mentioned we've got 32 or 34 clubs in the same situation with club rooms.
In the 30s. Yep.
In the 30s. So, but how many other clubs, sporting clubs in general, do we have across Sturt, approximately?
Sorry, Kinsey, you just answered.
How many sporting clubs across Sydney, Sturt?
We have about 80.
80, okay. Another question. When this election pledge was presented, did Council ever have any collaborative approach with regards to this, or was just said 1.5 million is coming?
Yeah, that is correct. We, through consultation with the Vipers Football Club, we realised that the requirement for additional sports ground lighting was required. That was captured, that information was captured in the St Clair Precinct Master Plan, so it's actually documented and endorsed by Council. Yeah, but not the community hub.
Okay, so I guess for me then, this is a three-part issue. One is, a big part for me is consultation, specifically fencing with the hub, but also I think the thing that we haven't really acknowledged is that we're being asked to fund another nearly $750,000, and that's a lot of money that's for an election pledge that didn't quite cover the costs to come back and expect our ratepayers to pick it up. That's, sorry? 900. So to me, that's a bit of the elephant in the room. It's been not quite discussed as much, and that to me is a bit of a sticking point, because I think also there's a lot of people that might not be aware that this is actually coming out. So I think we would probably, without schools probably speculating, we might have a lot of people that would be fairly have a lot to say in the negative, and I think that we need to give them the opportunity to have their say in this. It's a massive decision.
Councillor Kinsey. Lundy. Thank you.
Sorry, I suppose backing up on what Kenzie was saying, I'm not denying the consultation on the fencing, but I don't think that that's the real issue at the moment. I think it is the fact that there's no community consultation on the actual community hub, and you know, the for and against on that from the community in the area. The money that we need to spend, so you know, 900,000 should eventually go over to $1 million, and we don't have deep pockets. And then with the community consultation, a separate community consultation on the fence again, my only question on that to start was, does the FSA actually, once you have a fence up and you have a team in this particular league, do they make you charge an entrance fee?
I think it's at the discretion of the club if they want to charge or not. I think as Adrian stressed tonight, it's not part of the club's agenda to be making significant income. It's also a drive, an impulse of volunteers as well. The club are very keen to get that secondary spend rather than the admission from the gates.
Okay. Councillor Melindy, you've got something that I would 9 minutes or so ago.
Okay, I was just going to say, next one actually before, sorry.
That's all right. No, you
Keep it up. The cost for fencing there, where does that come in? We're already potentially, you know, this goes ahead, it's enough $900,000. How much is fencing?
Look, indicative quote, it's roughly $100 a linear metre, depending on what type of fencing you would want. Our current existing community fees and charges policy suggests that in ancillary facilities, the requirement of the club is at the club's expense. We have made a slight alteration to that policy in recent years where council may go through a competitive application process where we can fund some ancillary facilities, which we've considered in the last 3 years for our budget process. So it could be anticipated that the club would go through something similar like that. Couldn't tell off the top of the head, sorry. But I do know that a senior soccer pitch is 100 by 70, so it's at 7,000 times by 100. So.
Okay, Councillor Tom.
long. Just a question for staff. So if the council was supportive of the sports lighting going ahead, just looking at the report, is it correct that there's still a shortfall for?
That's correct. There's still a shortfall based on the pledge of 350. The shortfall would be 328. So the budget.
And so there is. So even if we split it out, there's still we could sort of. What I'm just thinking also, what hasn't been discussed tonight is there a reason why we haven't gone back to the state government to ask for further funds and initially seeking internally?
Staff have gone to the Office of Rec and Sport requesting additional funds, and there is no additional funds through this election process. So what's actually happened is it has just all been siphoned back into an existing funding stream that Office of Rec and Sport managed, and that has been completely drawn out.
So, for example, council could resolve this evening to potentially pick up the shortfall of, say, perhaps just the lighting and remove others, and perhaps we could write to the state government to say...
Councillor Katrina, if it's the will of the council to do that, it can do that.
So there's a few options, I guess, is what I'm trying to unpack here, because I don't want to leave the club, I don't want to hang them out to dry either, and they've got ambitions and they're very worthy. So I feel the need to kind of get to the point of what the compromise is here, and if there is interest in the council to make a contribution or not, that is a very important point to get to tonight.
I agree. All right, have we exhausted Councillor Quinn?
Just to add my thoughts in relation to the comments that have been made with regards to council injecting the 743,000 to 35 shortfall. In relation to matching government funds when it comes to state government supporting infrastructure and development and assets for council, I think we really need to take it seriously that it is going to be an opportunity cost for us to lose funds of up to 1.3 million if we have to give this back to the state government, and then the wheel's going to repeat itself at the next election. So we really need to think carefully about, is the actual 700 or 1,000 that we're voting on today for them to proceed with this, is it actually a cost? Because I think the cost would be for us to give back to the government what they've already pledged to us.
All right, so it's about as clear as mud going forward. I know that there's some very strong opinions here. I get that there's an element of reticenceness around being lumbered with this decision without the clarity that we would hope for because of the financial arrangements that we find ourselves in. I also sense that there is some concern around community access to the oval. If we would put fencing in, and then there's obviously that cost associated with fencing should in fact that proceed. And before we even get there, we've got to look at community consultation and making sure that that's done equitably. So at this stage of the game, I would hesitate to suggest to both Councillor Quinn and Councillor Edgar that your motion, I will put it to the vote, but I would suggest that it probably needs to be reworked. We have an opportunity to do that tonight. We've got probably more consensus around part 1, 2, 3 and 4, which is moving ahead with the community hub and the lighting, I think it's the irrigation works and so on. That can be included in the long-term financial plan, which is part 6 at the end of that. There's still some quite persistent concerns around the community consultation part of the fencing issue. So I think that there's probably more universal concern around that part of things, and the staff have quickly put together something which I think speaks to what I've thought we've been saying tonight, and quite happy to put that up there as a baseline for working on that. But at the moment, where we are proceeding
regarding streams. It's record sport have already acknowledged that there is some lag with projects and election pledges across the state, and there'd be very little risk in getting an extension.
So we've asked for an extension already, or we could ask for one and it's likely that...
We could ask for one, but on the grounds that work is and the project is well.
Yeah, we can't be because we can't make a decision. Yeah, okay. So I kind of get that side of things as well, because we're particular about having clarity on these big investments.
Just a quick clarification from Sam, what you're saying, is there a possibility to pull out?
Well, they've given us until the end of December, haven't they? Yeah. So after that, it will be up to them, I guess. Yeah. All right. So I need to move that we go back, or yes, these are formal motions. Is that right, Dominic? The formal motion that we move back into formal legal procedures. Can I have someone move that one, please? Councillor Edgar, can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Tom, any questions or debate on that? Put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? No against. That's carried unanimously. All right. So at the moment, the motion that we have there is the one that was moved by Councillor Quinn and seconded by Councillor Edgar. We've had a conversation about other things that we would like to see. Is there any debate on this? There's no debate on it. You do have the right of reply to close on it, Councillor Quinn, but because there's been no debate in the negative, I'm going to put the motion to the vote. All those in favour of this motion? Any against? You can't abstain, Councillor Sturt, you have to vote. Okay. Any against? So that is not carried, which is excellent. Thank you, based on our conversation. And now I'm looking for someone to put up another motion that's probably more reflective of where the Chambers is headed after our discussion. Councillor Harris.
Yes, I'm happy to put up recommendation, but that was from the previous motion, but we'll remove part 5. I think we need to just have a look. Yeah.
Okay. So can I suggest to you that instead of the part 5 we've got there, that we include these words, that staff bring back a consultation approach regarding the Vipers' proposed community hub and fencing that allows for broad-based, equitable community input.
I'm very happy with that.
Yep.
So that would be part 5 and part 6 for me. Yeah, that's fine. I'm really happy with that. Thank you.
Just checking with staff that we've covered off and everything we need to. Just if I may, can I just check that there's no conflict between that part 2, between that and what potentially could be proposed in part 5 regarding community engagement? Okay. So we just want to clean this up a bit so it's really crisp. Yep. And Councillor Alice, this is still your motion. Just taking a little bit of licence to get the wording right. And then you can look at it and determine what you want to support or changing. It's just a little bit of a nuance here. Andrew.
I was just saying through the chair, I was just going to say that part 2 would allow us to proceed with the lighting as we read it, but just to hold on the other bit to the consultation through both the hub and the fencing, so we think if that would work. But we'll wait for the confirmation from the ongoing.
Just trying to get that wording right so we're not actually at odds with one another when it comes to the operational application of this.
Yeah. It's true.
Getting there slowly. It's like a childbirth.
That's good. It shows it's an important issue. That's good. If we have a resource.
you know that we've pulled together the different budget bids from both the operating and capital bids, and we're combining all them at the moment and going through a first cut. There's going to be, just to give you a forewarning, we'll need to workshop that because there's some considerable amounts of budget bids that we're going to have to remove to meet our long-term financial plan goals. So it would be really great if all elected members can be present at those workshops so that we can go in and make sure that we're getting the best outcomes for our community.
Excellent. Any questions of Donna on any of that? No? Okay. Let's have a motion to move back into formal meeting procedures. Councillor George moves that way. Councillor John seconds. Any questions or debate? There's no, I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? That's carried unanimously. All right. So here we go. We've had a motion. That motion's been moved and seconded, and it was not carried. And now we have a new motion on the same item. Councillor Ellis, what we've got up there, Councillor Ellis, if you'd like to read that. That the report be received to note that the council proceed with state government funded work, including the oval sports lighting, with council funding of $328,235. Part 3, subject to community consultation and consideration. Part 5, council found the shortfall fund the shortfall of $415,000 for the community facility through the 24-25 budget bid deliberations. 4, that a budget bid be prepared in the order of $200,000 to be considered through the 24-25 financial year budget bid deliberations for essential surface drainage works on the St Clair Oval number 2. 5, that council proceed with irrigation renewal works already allocated with the AEP in the long-term financial plan. 6, the staff bring back a consultation approach regarding Vargas Community Hub and fencing that allows for broad, equitable community input, recognising of course Part 6 relates to Part 3, thank you for making the change, and Part 7 that the long-term financial plan be just according to reflect the endorsed action. Councillor Ellis, is this the motion that you want to put forward?
Yes, I think this brings a lot of clarity. I wouldn't mind having a time frame with regard to the consultation approach.
investment in it, but through the asset management committee, we will all get that, and that can be flagged for everyone's attention at the time. Councillor Quinn.
Through the chair, I'd like to ask staff with regards to point item number 6 there. It seems like we've still tangled the issue of this community consultation between both the community hub, the community facility and the fencing. And possibly, my question to staff is, will staff have sufficient information come back from this community consultation in relation to the fencing that will then impede the other elements of this particular motion, or should that be treated as completely excluded from this particular motion today?
Through the Mayor, that's going to be the complexity about coming up with this community engagement approach to separate both matters whilst consulting concurrently. So early time will tell if that does become an issue or not.
Councillor Kelly, would you turn your mic off just for a minute? I've got you in mind next. What's your proposal to the mover and the seconder in terms of a minor change?
I think my proposal is to remove the word "and fencing" in item number 6.
Well, I'd have to get support. That would be substantial change to the motion, and that would require a process that we've already gone through. So I'm not sure that Councillor Ellis, we don't need to comment on that. That's just the reality of it. So I can't accept that at the moment. We have to go through the process of moving and seconding this and putting it to the vote, and then depending on the outcome, it might be an option that you can pursue.
So can I reason why I wouldn't accept it as a mover?
Because you're actually taking it out. It's a
And
procedural
also,
matter.
I was actually just wanted to, procedurally, I actually don't want asset management committee in there because timing wise it might be delayed because asset management committee meetings happen, it would happen in the third, this would be the third meeting we have of May. So I don't think asset management committee should be included there. I think the consultation approach should actually be brought to council by asset management committee.
All right, that's your motion, so that's fair enough.
Sorry, I didn't initially agree with that, but I actually want, I think council, because otherwise.
To council, excellent, thank you.
But I also think the consultation approach would actually allow for distinguishing between the hub itself and the fencing. That's what would be expected, that there be that distinction made so the community would understand that they're looking at a variety of different options. That's why I'm happy with that.
Yep, no worries. So we've got that. Councillor Kelly, what do you want to do to write us on?
I'd just like to first ask a question, just something. If council were redoing this building, knowing the age of it, etc., where would it be on our renewal program anyway?
The useful life of a building is roughly 35 to 40 years. So the land swap happened mid 2015 when I would most definitely say it's not in our 10-year program and probably looking at close to 15 years. It's still a very, very good condition.
Thank you. Just picking up on something that Councillor Quinn said as well, that in regards to the fencing, I take what she said earlier.
You're debating. We haven't got a seconder of course yet.
Okay.
So I'm looking for a seconder with regard to this. So Councillor Ellis has moved. Sorry. My apologies, everyone. I'm caught up here. Yeah, good on you. My apologies, Councillor Kelly. Off you go.
So just picking up on something that Councillor Quinn said earlier in regards to fencing being something totally separate and maybe coming back later on that, I quite liked that idea rather than bringing it in with the community hub to start with. And I am concerned that having games of cricket recently cancelled due to the Vipers training on the at St Clair, and knowing after speaking to the president of the Woodville Cricket Club today, concerned about moving their cricket nets. They are not in a position that they want to move their cricket nets. I am concerned about that as well. I'm happy to go out to consultation on the hub, but I'm really concerned about the fencing and other users not being able to use the facility while games are on and locked. The gates are locked, so I would like to keep it very separate. I think the lighting is a good idea, but I am concerned about the rest. So as this motion is, I wouldn't be able to vote for that, but I'm happy to have an alternate to review it. Doesn't get up.
Yeah, no, and that's great feedback on this. I think the consultation approach, which will come back to council, will provide us with an opportunity to have further input in that. But by vocalising these concerns, right now that gives the staff some idea about what they can navigate right from the get-go. So thanks for that. I really appreciate that input. All right. So any other questions or debate on this? Councillor Sturt.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I was to support the lighting, be a good idea. But will the sport club lighting be for training purposes or club games? Because the light intensity in those two situations is quite considerably more, and a lot of light spill for the residents.
Through the Mayor, for both, Councillor Sturt will be used for training and for games. The lighting design has been prepared to accommodate the free-for requirements, not only now but into the future as well.
Thank you.
Councillor, anyone else want anything else to say? Councillor Katrina.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that I'm quite happy with how this motion has progressed or evolved. In particular, the importance of community and consultation to inform our further commitment of funding, and that's just completely essential. So I would very much look forward to what that consultation would help inform us to decide.
Excellent. Councillor Ellis, you have an opportunity to close the debate if you wish.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that this still allows us to consider all the options. It doesn't lock us into anything. It's just giving some reassurance to the club themselves that we will actually consider further pursuing this project. And I think we owe it to the community to do that. And there is going to be a lot of unknowns, I think, but I think we need to really explore those, and we'll be able to do that through what I've proposed, rather than the stuff we've proposed here. So I urge you all to support this. Thank you.
Okay, the debate's closed. I'll put the motion to vote. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those against? 1, 2, 3. And the motion is carried. Beautiful. Thank you. Moving on to item 6.08, 2024, the National General Assembly of Local Government. Because the matter relates to a financial. Oh, big pardon, isn't it? Sorry. This may. It was a while. Thanks for keeping me on my radar, people. Long time no see.
also now like to nominate myself to attend the 2024 National Government Local, the National Government of Australia Local Government meeting this year. Last year, my attendance enabled me to be able to really gain evidence-based information and confidence to participate in council and do the best to add value to our community. And I will also declare a material conflict of interest and nominate myself to be able to attend the 2024 NGA.
Are there any
I was actually going to nominate the Deputy Mayor to perhaps see if he wanted to go, but I'm not sure how we do that procedurally. It seems like he's currently chairing the meeting. So.
Well, thank you for nominating me, and it is a passion of mine. And I went last year, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, not for the experience, just for the experience, but for the wealth of information that the General Assembly is. I'm also retired, so I got the passion and the time to attend. And if it's okay with the chamber, yes, I would. So now I have to declare conflict of interest. Once again, I delegate for another, one to take my chair as deputy.
Can I have someone who's prepared to chair for the item? Councillor George, if you're happy to. Should I just call, is there anyone else that's interested in attending? So we can flush the bees out and then proceed.
Last call.
Okay.
On that basis.
I just want to speak on this.
Yes.
I don't think that people that attended last year should be attending. They have had that experience last year. I really wanted it to be for people in the chamber that haven't been for a few years or that are new. We have to think that yes, it is taxpayers' money, and to go 2 years in a row, I don't think it's going to be beneficial for the chamber. So I'd like to, I don't know how to change that motion or how we can work that out, but I really do feel that it should just be people that didn't attend besides the mayor. Obviously, she needs to go in her capacity.
Through the chair, you initiated a process where you called for nominations. Those nominations have been called.
Yeah.
What we could do is vote separately on them, and so you vote separately on each one, and then people can choose to do that. It's probably the most straightforward way of doing it. So essentially, if we can just insert a resolution in there that repeats number 4 multiple times, once for Campbell, once for Chan, once for Adjuce, and then we'll vote on each of those separately. If we could have just leave with the meeting to do it that way, so it's similar to what we normally do with the DWA application.
So I think we will be proceed that way.
Why do you say that?
I think I'll leave the meeting. Raise your hands. All in favour? Carry that. Leave the meeting. Right, so proceeding now, I'm going to call off the vote. So the first vote is for the mayor to attend. So could I have a mover? So move Councillor Peter. Do I have a second? Councillor Tom? All in favour? Against? Carried unanimously.
Okay, sorry, to the chair, who moved that?
Peter. Peter. The second is for Councillor Alice to attend. So I have a move. Second mover, please. Nicole, moving Councillor Nicole, second Tom. All in favour to attendance? Against? Sorry, you're against. Can I just clarify that? Can we move, so can we do that again? All in favour of attending? And against? So it's still approved. Carried. Next one is Councillor Quinn. So Councillor Tom, Councillor Sturt, Councillor Sturt. So I move all in favour, vote for, all in favour? Four, five, six, lost. And finally, Councillor Edgar. Someone like to move Councillor Edgar? Mr. Tom? Someone second that? Michael? Second that, right? So therefore, we have all in favour? Against? So, lost. Okay. Somebody at the mayor and other councillors. Thank you, Senator.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Could you just change that motion from the Grange Ward, thank you?
So, everybody is approved from
Yes.
the Grange Ward.
Correct.
Excellent. So I'm assuming that you're going to move that, Councillor Sheffield.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kingston.
I'd like to second that with a lot of gratitude from the
Okay, questions or debate on that one? I put the motion to the vote. All those in favour? Any against? None against. That's carried unanimously. Yes. We're all weary from our previous energies, I think. That's understandable. All right, moving on to part 7, motion on notice. This is regarding the final of the Ukraine flag and letter of support to the Association of Ukraine's in South Australia. Councillor Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I won't labour too much to the chamber. We've had a pretty long night, so I'll make it short, sharp and shiny. We've already heard 2 deputations this evening in support of the motion. Just a bit of background, I was contacted by Frank Fistanko from the Association of Ukrainian People Association located in Hindmarsh. And he has expressed to me that as the war itself enters into the 3rd year, which actually is reflected on the 24th of February, there's a sense among the community that there is a forgetfulness and people aren't focusing as much on what it actually means. I think the deputies tonight did a pretty good job of really capturing what we're trying to do here with this motion. Some words I will put to the council just to keep us reminded of what's happening is that since the full-scale invasion, essentially, of the territorial invasion of Russia on the territory of Ukraine, UNHCR stats reveal that around about 3.7 million people have been driven from their homes and displaced internally within Ukraine. To put that into context, that displacement reflects nearly the entire estimated population of this state of South Australia and Western Australia combined. So those two combined, it's quite mind-boggling to think how many people have lost their homes. And it makes us reflect on the fact that we have people in our community here who are feeling that pain and suffering. Of course, with respect to that, war itself symbolises more than just the human devastation. It's an attack on the democratic system and values that we all hold valuable here. And it's also an attack on the structures of democracy that's embedded within the Ukrainian state. In 2024, the continued advancement of the Russian Federation into the Ukrainian sovereign territory comes at a time when democracies across the world are facing immense challenges and hostilities from within, threatening the legal framework that offers freedom of choice and the freedom of self-determination. I don't think I need to labour too much more on this chamber what it means to be an elected body, to be able to have representation of our community just like we do. Again, it comes back to the fact that we have people within our community being members not only of the association but also they have all sorts of ethnical and lineage connection to the Ukraine. Those people are struggling. The deputations tonight really highlight that, so I won't go too much into detail there. The erosion of such core democratic principles must be visible to the world to see. We must not allow ourselves to become desensitised to or normalise the Russian territorial invasion of Ukraine. We must not allow the ongoing and unconscionable humanitarian disaster to be back-page news or for the brazen attack on the sovereign democratic nation state to be part of the cause. And that's the message that Frank, as the president of the association, instilled in me and wanted me to provide to the chamber is that there's a sense of forgetfulness in the fact of the matter is that as the war continues, its visibility is waning, which is really goes to the core of the motion today. We must point out and highlight and make visible that entering into the 3rd year of this war, what we know to be shocking and egregious in 2022 at the outbreak is still the same today and will continue to get worse. And so making visible the conflict is all the more necessary. Democracy does die in darkness, and that's why we're shining this light. So, with respect to the motion, as councillors can see, what I'm suggesting is that from the 24th of February 2024, which marks the commencement of the war in 2022, we use the community flagpole there to hoist the Ukrainian flag in support. And we also illuminate the City of Charles Sturt Town Hall with the uplights to reflect the colours of the Ukrainian flag from a period of 24 March through to 24 February to 2 March as additional support. And symbolism sometimes feels futile, but I'm very strongly of the view that if it can galvanise members of the community, it's worth doing. And again, I think the deputation's brought that across to everybody to consider. And I know that this particular issue is quite salient to a lot of people here, not only that we know and represent members of the Ukrainian families within our communities, but also because the duality of what it actually represents on our democratic system and the fragility that we have. So we need to be in a position to continue to fight and support that. So I'm hopeful that everybody in the chamber tonight will support my motion on that basis.
Thank you. Senator, Councillor Eckert.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I also rise to second and support this motion. In a few days, a dozen more days actually, it's 3 years since the deliberate and unprovoked invasion of the sovereignty of Ukraine, causing devastation not just to property, as my co-councillor said, but also to human rights. We live in a free and democratic nation, and it is our moral duty to show our solidarity and support with the people of Ukraine and its government. Russia's action is seen as flexing their muscle to grab their neighbor's territory. This unjust ongoing action created massive humanitarian crisis. Dear members, support this motion, a gesture of support and solidarity to the people and government of Ukraine. Because the only thing necessary for a triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. So I ask for your support. Thank you.
Any other questions on this one or debate? We've got Councillor Kelly.
Yes, I have a question. We've obviously had the flag before, and I have no problems with having a flag. And Frank knows, obviously, the process. So usually they write to us and then send a flag, and then it happens. But we're doing it this way. Does that go against our policy then?
No, it's consistent with the policy. They have a flag which they'll raise, and they raise this matter with me and Councillor McEwen verbally. I've actually received an email from him.
Yeah.
So if those issues are a concern for you, we'll hear from him. Councillor George?
Yes, to the chair, to the movement secretary. Is there any reason why we can't, propose that the lights actually be on for the same period of time as the flag is flying? You've just chosen for the 1 week. Just clarification. I'll be happy if we go for the full month, but it's your call.
Is there a possibility for that period of time? So it's a long period, not just for 1 week.
Just a recommendation.
We can actually do it for the period of time.
If we could, I'll be.
So, just for the sake of this, just want me to write to Mr. Korsenko on this matter. I'd like to have it actually in motion, if you don't mind. So can you just change that? Where it says, I'd like to put it from the 24th of March. Okay, good idea. Beautiful.
Thank you, George.
Councillor Quinn?
Mayor, I'd like to speak to this motion. Slava Ukraine and Michael, thank you for raising it. I certainly, as a Vietnamese refugee, have much in common with the Ukrainian people, as both of our home countries have known the enemy and the brutality of communist occupation. For the Vietnamese community in South Australia, the 24th of February 2022 felt like the fall of Saigon for us all over again. In 1991, Ukraine decommissioned her nuclear arsenal, and this left her freedoms, democracy, and basic human rights exposed to the attack of a communist bully nation. Recently speaking through the Multicultural Commission to Mayor Marika Ryan of Tea Tree Gully in our state, she informs me that half of the country lies in total ruins. Millions of people are dead. The most fertile soil in all of Europe, which produces wheat that feeds much of our world with grain and imports, is now contaminated and an ecological disaster. So that's just my commentary in support of the motion. I do have a little thing in relation to the word Russian in item number 1 that I'd like to just bring to Council's knowledge. When we use the word Russian territorial invasion, I do wonder whether that's a breach of the Multicultural Charter, in that it was the Russian government and also the communist regime that was the territorial invasion of Ukraine, and not Russian in itself, because in our state we have a Russian community that are against war, that are against the decisions made by the erratic government. And so I'd like us just to give thought to whether the use of the word Russian is actually appropriate in this motion.
Could we use Russian Federation, which is reflective of the state rather than the people?
We could do. I take the point. I'm wondering what level of compromise it might be, acceptable or not, whether we just take the anniversary of the territorial invasion or just the invasion of Ukraine. I'm more than happy in my writing to the association, after doing the homework around that particular issue, to make the emphatic point that we need to, as this motion suggests. Now, Councillor McEwen, but I take the point that to have this in the public domain and potentially leaving ourselves open for criticism is probably not a good thing. But if you want to take that part out,
Certainly I'd be happy with that. I completely agree with
I'll
that.
do the research around that, and then
Certainly. I think the thrust of the motion still breaks its point across, even without the naming of the actual country itself. Yeah.
okay, right. And this is seconded, Councillor Edgar. Are you happy with that change?
Yes.
Consider it a minor thing. That's why I'm not moving to a formal issue on this. All right. Thank you, Councillor, for bringing that to our attention. I'll do some homework around that. All right. So, any other comment from the floor around that? Councillor Katrina?
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment that when the agenda came out and it said some consultation, I thought that was pretty vague. I just wanted to share with the council that I did reach out to Frank as the president of the association, and confirming in particular that at that point in time the minister wasn't on the deputation, but that the person that was making the deputation, and as well as Councillor Michael, were putting forth things that were in the interest of the association, and he confirmed that. So for that reason, I'll be happy to support the motion tonight.
Wonderful. Right, any other comments, Councillor Peter?
Yeah, because I also come from a war-torn country like Queen, Cyprus, and I have experienced the tragedies of war during my childhood. I feel that motion that we are putting forward doesn't go far enough to achieve an actual resolution for the people of the Ukraine. I mean, it's fair enough to sort of express support to the Ukrainian people, and to highlight the ongoing humanitarian crisis as a result of the conflict. But in my view, we could have another line underneath saying that we call on the international community to apply pressure through the United Nations for a ceasefire to put an end to this to secure a unified and sovereign Ukrainian nation and securing peace and stability in that particular region.
When Mr. Forsenko spoke to me, he was very clear about what it was he was asking of this council, and he felt that this level of moral support at this particular time was extremely, would be welcomed by the Ukraine community here. And it didn't require us to do anything more at this point in time. And I'm not sure, Councillor McEwen, whether you want to comment on your conversations with him?
Yeah, certainly. And in principle, I completely agree with Peter in the sense that the symbolism itself doesn't go far enough. And so I guess I'm in violent agreement with you, Councillor Peter, over that. Having thought about an idea that originally in the motion that I put together had something very similar to that in there, I guess part of the problem is putting in information beyond the scope of what a council is able to actually achieve, and then putting an expectation on us is one thing that's potentially I had to scale back. And then having conversations with Frank, the president of the association, he was very satisfied and content with at least this level. I think he sees it as more of a gateway into perhaps more work. Certainly I've been able to get in touch with some members of Parliament who might be moving motions potentially in Parliament. So there's other avenues that Frank is pursuing in connection with this, but for him he was quite satisfied, and it represents at least the starting point where he can campaign about raising awareness, the fact that we're entering into the third year of war. But I certainly take your point and agree mostly with you, but what we have here is essentially on the recommendation that I and I think Mayor Angela as well had basically received in communications with Frank. So
I can take that perhaps as closing the debate if there's no other questions on this matter. Would you be satisfied with that, Councillor Michael? Are you happy to close the debate on your last comments?
A question, can I
ask a question? Yes.
Well, this is just one council. Can we approach the local government association? So, in a few days, on the third anniversary, all the councils can do something similar.
The local government association has been approached at various strategic calendar times since the conflict began, and its position on this, whilst it did bring together some representatives from the Ukraine to address local government, as did the National Local Government Association. Essentially, it's up to each council to decide for themselves how they want to respond to this. So you'll see that different councils around Adelaide metropolitan area have Tidjara Council is a classic example of that. Member Ray Ryan is actually a member of the Ukraine community, and the council has taken a route in terms of supporting this particular agenda that other councils have not. But as I said, we've spoken to Mr. Forsenko at length, seen him a number of times, spoken to both in person and on the phone, and had an email from him. He is, thinks that this is a very positive step on behalf of this council, where the Ukraine community has its association in terms of providing moral support. More than that, his agenda is to continue to lift awareness around the conflict in Ukraine so that he can seek financial support for that campaign. So their original plea to the wider community was to actually support the refugees that came here, to get them settled in and established. They needed help with that, and they got on board with it, and they were very, very grateful for it. So this next tranche of awareness raising is really to do with their program of fundraising that will go back to Ukraine.
Thank you.
All right, any other comments comments from anyone else? Councillor Michael, you can close the debate. Yep, okay.
I appreciate everybody's support and the commentary taken on board, and I agree with everybody's position. Unfortunately, we can't always get everything